My name is Jason Drake, and I've been a wedding videographer since 2005, smartass since '94, and at every wedding, all the vendors and I would get together and we would swap our crazy wedding stories. And every time I would tell my story, everyone would laugh. My book, You Stay Classy Wedding People, is about my time as a wedding videographer. I've read other wedding story publications and they were just depressing, so I kind of wanted this to be fun. And I didn't want to just regurgitate events, so I would add my 2 cents. And I think that comes from my upbringing, as I'm half Irish, half sarcastic on my mother's side. The book achieves many objectives. It's a comedy, it's a what not to do, and it's a pop culture referencing smorgasbord. So I hope people can learn from this, so that way you see this train wreck and your day isn't ruined when you have your wedding. A couple story examples. Seated at a table for dinner, a photographer and I with some guests, and it's family style. And I'm sure you know what that is, where they bring out plates of one kind of food, 5 different plates. Everybody takes what they want, all you can eat. So the photographer says, "Hey, does everybody get enough?" And we're like, "Yeah." So he proceeds to pull out a big bag of Tupperware. And he starts to take each plate and fills up his Tupperware. And we're all like, the server comes over and she's like, "Hey, can I get you anything else?" And he's like, "Yeah, 1 more plate of each." I'm like, wow. So I told this to another photographer. He's like, "Yeah, that's classy." And I'm like, "Yeah, it is." Didn't even know I was writing a book. We have a Zilla chapter, which is Bridezilla, Groomzilla, family. And that's the worst of the worst. Our Groomzilla shows up to a church in a chauffeured Rolls Royce. Ceremony starts, there's no bride. So the priest, photographers and I are on the steps. Where's the bride? Finally, a tiny little blue Nissan drives up about 10 minutes late, 1 person in the car, and it's the bride. She drove herself. So to reiterate, the groom had a chauffeur-driven Rolls Royce, and the bride drove herself in a tiny blue Nissan. The priest was so taken aback by it that he mentioned it in the sermon. And the sad part is that this wasn't even in the top 5 of the worst things that this guy did that day. My book is also advice. You know, like I said, I want to help people. And the scheduling and speeches chapters are almost flat out just advice. You need to do this, 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 and this. For example, people schedule their weddings to the last minute. They don't take into account the little things that could throw it off, you know, like traffic, bad weather, people in the wedding party unable to tell time, you know, little things. And one lady, we started at the Congress Hotel, that's where the bride was staying. She was going to have us drive in a trolley from Congress downtown to Irving and Damon. And if you're not familiar with Chicago, she scheduled 15 minutes for that drive. And you could not make it in 15 minutes if the city was empty. So needless to say, the entire day was off schedule and shot. They missed their cocktail hour. They missed a whole lot of things because nobody was thinking. Speeches. So I can't tell you how many times people get up here with 5 typed pages of speeches and they drone on and on and on and on and on and on, and you get it. By the time they get to their emotional moment or their punchline, everyone tuned them out 10 minutes ago. So I try to give advice, you know, don't do that. Maybe make it a little shorter. People get up there with their phones, they're like, "Oh, I lost my page, hold on, hold on." And it goes on for 5 minutes. And it's like you're trying to convey how much you like these people and you can't communicate it because you're on your phone. It's like you can remember all 900 words to Ice Ice Baby, but you can't remember one nice thing to say about your friend. So I'm sure some of you are thinking, okay, this is what not to do. What should I do to make a good speech? Well, you're in luck. I did transcribe the greatest speech ever written by me, and I have it set up so you can customize it for yourself. The book has garnered a lot of press. If you haven't seen from the big board, I was on WGN Morning News in studio. They gave me a 5-minute segment. I was on WBBM Radio, and 11 newspapers have given me little blurbs here and there. So it's been quite a success there. And just to sum up, it's a lot of fun. You don't need to like weddings to enjoy this. There are a ton of pop culture references. Whenever something happens in a wedding that I've seen happen in a movie, I immediately make that connection, whether you want it or not. I do tons of impressions. And if you don't get the reference, there is a reference index in the back of the book, which is actually pretty nice because if I, make a joke about Vanilla Ice, and you're like, who's that? So then in the index, when I describe who he is, I can get a couple other jabs in, so it's kind of neat. It's a lot of fun, and you should check it out. Any questions?
Well, I have a question about the blurbs in the back. You say you give reference to what you're talking about so people know what it is. You're, like you said, Vanilla Ice. You're
Yes.
telling people what the joke is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I do explain because I'll do impressions, I'll do scenes from a movie, and I'll reference characters. I'm sure nobody here knows who Philo Beto is, but I will explain who that is in the back. So.
Clint Eastwood,
Yes.
Every Which Way But Loose.
Okay, thank you. Yay. I have a running joke of whenever somebody says something silly, I give a Philo Beto's raised eyebrow. It's like, in the movie, he would raise his eyebrows whenever a plot happens, and it's kind of funny. So yeah, I would describe then who Philo is and how it relates to the story. So.
Did you ever encounter something so ridiculous or offensive or unexpected that it really threatened your professionalism?
Absolutely. It happens way more than you think. Actually, there was one last week. We had a golf club, and we were going to take pictures on the golf course. And we're driving our carts. We had to stop every 10 feet because somebody was taking a shot. So we had to be real respectful of them. Yet the golfers weren't so kind the other way. They wanted to play through. They were, you got to move, you got to move, you got to move. And so then during the ceremony, they were all seated out at the bar yelling and screaming. And people were like, it's interrupting the ceremony. And so then later on, a couple of golfers even said something to me. He's like, wow, you did a great job. I heard you out on the course, indicating we were really loud. And, it's like, got to remember you're professional. You can't punch them in the face. And so you just got to eat it and walk on. And one of the worst stories that's in the book is I had a quinceañera. So if you don't know what that is, it's a birthday party for a 15-year-old girl. And we're inside a gazebo at some botanic garden, and it's really tight. There's like 10 people in there, and I'm checking my camera because there's different lighting, there's shadow, so I'm trying to figure out how am I going to work this. And I hear the photographer say to the girl, he's like, wow, you were so cute. Can I give you a kiss? And I'm like, by the time I looked up, he already did it. I mean, I don't know if it was on the cheek or something, but still. I was like, what the? And I looked at the girl, and she's just like, and nobody saw it. 10 people in there, and nobody saw it. So I'm just like, so we all leave to go to the next event, and I'm kind of, take the photographer's side. I'm like, can we have a talk, please? And I'm like, what was that? And he's like, what? And he thought I was correcting him for a minor faux pas, like using your dinner fork for the salad. And I'm like, you're 100 years old. You don't kiss somebody who not related to you, and you're a professional. And I go, you better go apologize to her before somebody beats you up or sues you or worse. And so then dinner comes, and guy doesn't say anything to me, and I'm fuming, and I'm like, well? And he's like, oh, yeah, she didn't think it was a big deal. I'm like, really? Okay. So I went over to her, and she's like, what did you say to him? And he's like, he apologized so profusely. And I'm like, yeah, he should have. So I reported it to my boss, and I never saw that guy again. So I don't know what goes through people's minds. I'm not perfect. I don't tell my stories from atop my high horse. I do have a author screw-up chapter, a videographer chapter. So like I said, you don't have to like weddings to want to laugh. But yeah, there's a lot more instances like this. The groomzilla, I thought we were going to get into a fight over the phone. I thought we were going to get to a fight at the venue. There's some awful people. You'd think spending all that money and getting dressed up really nice would bring out the best in you, and a lot of times it brings out the worst.